We're speaking with Lynne Tolman, who is, are you still the president of the Major Taylor Association?
That's right.
And for those who don't know, and you should know, especially if you are in Worcester or the surrounding area, Major Taylor was a cycling champion late 1890s, turn of the century, early 1900s. And just to let people know, he was a superstar at a very difficult time for, I would say, for African Americans in this country. He was up there. Would you say at that time he was as big as LeBron James is now?
Yes, that's the kind of superstar that he was. He was making headlines all over the world.
My next question is, here in Worcester, we know about him. We have that statue in front of the library. There's murals. But why isn't he talked about like, say, Jackie Robinson?
Well, that's what we're working on. Part of it is cycling itself lost its popularity. In his day, it was more popular than baseball. But then you had the rise of the automobile. You lost a generation of young men, especially in Europe, to World War I. And as one of Major Taylor's biographers, Andrew Ritchie, put it, a dead sport does not remember its heroes.
Yeah, I mean, cycling is popular, not so much here in the United States. I mean, in Europe, obviously, much more so. And was it true, at that time, was he the highest paid athlete in the world?
I'm always careful about superlatives, so I'm not sure about that, but he was definitely one of the wealthiest black men in America. At one point, he was pulling down about $50,000 a year, which is the equivalent of a few million nowadays. So he was making like Tiger Woods kind of money.
Which is amazing to me because at that time, I mean, we're talking shortly after the Civil War, going into the 20th century, still there was a lot of racism, a lot of discrimination in this country. And he seemed to get through all of that. And he kind of had a similar approach, if I could make the comparison, to Martin Luther King, where he kind of did it by speaking and trying to reason.
Yes and no. For a lot of the time, he just let his legs do the talking, and he was popular. He was a big box office draw because people were absolutely thrilled by the speed. Don't forget, aviation and automobiles were in their infancy then, so a human being on a bicycle was the fastest thing going, and people were just thrilled to see it. So the promoters were able to, put him on the big stage and charge good money for the tickets, and he was a real draw. So that explains some of the money. Talking about him getting through it all, the racism. I mean, the racism ran the gamut from closed doors to open hostility, and in many ways he did overcome it, but in other ways it kind of broke him.
Also, he wasn't from Worcester. But he started in Indianapolis in Indiana, which, again, that was a state that was almost ruled by the Ku Klux Klan at that time. Was that the reason why he came to Worcester?
Well, he came here with his coach and mentor and employer who wanted to start a bicycle factory in Worcester. Worcester was a manufacturing hub, kind of at the center of what was then the golden triangle of bicycle manufacturing was Worcester, Springfield, Hartford. So this mentor of his, Bertie Munger, started the Worcester Cycle Manufacturing Company here. They did think that the Northeast would be a better racial climate for Major Taylor, and in some ways that was true.
Now, at the Worcester Public Library tonight, they're going to be screening this special from PBS called Major Taylor, Champion of the Race. That's at 6 o'clock, and I suggest everybody go and see this because it's an amazing piece of history that should be getting more attention, especially being, a lot of it based here in Worcester. And then there is going to be a panel and a discussion afterwards. And who do you have on the panel for this?
Major Taylor's great-granddaughter is coming all the way from Hawaii, and one of her sisters, another great-granddaughter, plans to attend. Another panelist is Dart Adams, who's a historian from Boston. The producer is coming from Indiana, Todd Gould. And Edwin Moses, who is our honorary national chairman, will be on the panel. He is, people over a certain age will remember, three-time Olympic medalist in the 400-meter hurdles, unprecedented winning streak, almost 10 years. undefeated. So I think among those four panelists, we're going to have a lot of interesting perspectives. The film itself is 1 hour, and then we'll have another hour to talk.
Well, I suggest everybody try to attend this and see this documentary. It's very well done. Should, like you said, should be an interesting discussion afterwards. And I think it's someone who really doesn't get a lot of credit. I mean, much like Jackie Robinson, he broke through a lot of barriers and achieved greatness, even though a lot of people don't remember because of its cycling. It's like you said, it's not as popular as it was then, but still the achievements he made at the time in history were pretty amazing. So there should be more attention to that.
Exactly. And I talked about how cycling lost popularity, but of course another reason that he wasn't remembered, I would think, has to do with his race too. Who gets to write the history books? When Major Taylor was writing his autobiography in the 1920s, there was a real surge of nativism in this country, and as you mentioned, the KKK was resurgent, and the victors get to write the history, and a lot of people got left out.
Well, Lynne Tolman, thank you very much for your time. Lynne is the president of the Major Taylor Association. Where can people look up the Major Taylor Association online?
We are at majortaylораssociation.org.
All right, great. Well, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for speaking with us this morning.
My pleasure.